It's time now for a look at latest in local news. In the news, the Georgia State Patrol investigating a fatal crash which occurred around 3 a.m. this morning in Long County. They report a single vehicle crash. A woman was killed in the accident. Georgia State Patrol says the accident occurred on Tibet Road. They state the woman was traveling eastbound when the crash occurred. Georgia State Patrol says it's still under investigation, but they say the car rolled over and the woman was ejected from the vehicle. They state she was not wearing a seatbelt in the accident. Again, under investigation, but they said it was a single vehicle accident, once again occurring in Long County around 3 a.m. this morning. Larry Jenkins back in a courtroom Friday, sitting with the court-appointed attorneys in his jail outfit, as he has been sitting in prison for the past 30 years, serving a life sentence behind bars for the brutal murders of Terry and Michael Ralston, which occurred in Wayne County back in 1993. Jenkins had been tried twice and convicted twice, once in 1995 and once again in 2014. But due to a Miranda issue and whether Larry Jenkins' statement that he would not talk to law enforcement without a lawyer was a valid invocation of his Miranda rights on Friday, a motions hearing was held in Glenn County in front of Superior Court Judge Stephen Scarlett. Scarlett denied bond on Friday as Jenkins' attorneys motioned for a bond, trying to get him out of prison. But again, that motion was denied on Friday. The defense attorneys also motioned for District Attorney Keith Higgins to be removed from the case. They state due to a conflict because Higgins represented Officer Joe Gardner in court in another matter. But Higgins argued Friday that he doesn't intend to call Joe Gardner as a witness in the upcoming trial. So he says there is no conflict. But defense attorney Jonathan Lockwood says they may call Joe Gardner, and if they do, there is a conflict. And again, the defense wanted DA Higgins removed from the prosecuting this case. That motion was also denied by Judge Stephen Scarlett on Friday. But many defense motions were granted, including any statements Jenkins may or may not have made to law enforcement while in custody. Also, a motion was granted that would not allow the prosecution to use the fact that Jenkins took law enforcement to the murder scene, and at that scene, law enforcement found Terry Ralston's purse. All that is now not allowed to be used in the upcoming third trial. Once again, these murders occurred back in 1993 when Larry Jenkins, age 17 at the time, entered the Ralston's family-owned laundromat in downtown Jesup, robbed Terry and her 15-year-old son Michael of the money from the laundromat, then ordered the Ralstons into their Chevy Lumina van, drove them to a wooded area near railroad tracks, and shot and killed them. The next day, Jenkins and some friends were spotted driving the Ralstons van around town as they were trying to exchange the quarters for dollar bills. Police spot the van and give chase. Jenkins is seen jumping out of the van. He tosses the murder weapon into some bushes, drops a backpack which contained around $142 in quarters from the laundromat. After his arrest, Michael Ralston's learner's permit is found in Jenkins' pants pocket. Michael was only 15 at the time of his death. Once again, the exact date of these murders occurred January 8th, 1993. At trial, Dr. John Parker, a medical examiner and forensic pathologist for the GBI, testified that he performed the autopsies of both Terry and Michael Ralston. He testified that Terry was shot on the right side of the back of her head, and that Michael was shot 6 times, 4 in the back, 1 in his arm and 1 in his left temple, and that the cause of death for both victims was a gunshot wound to the head. Dr. Parker recovered several bullets from both victims during the autopsies, which he turned over to the GBI for testing. On Friday in court, it was said that Dr. John Parker is deceased, and the defense says that his testimony should not be able to be entered into this upcoming trial. DA Higgins brought to the stand Dr. Robin Massett, a current GBI medical examiner, to testify. She says she's looked over Dr. Parker's testimony and test results, and she says she would come to the same conclusion as Dr. Parker. But the defense argued to Judge Scarlett on Friday that anything she says is simply hearsay and can't be allowed to be entered into evidence. Once again, all this taking place Friday in the Glenn County Courthouse in front of Judge Stephen Scarlett. Members of both the Ralston family and the Larry Jenkins family was present in the courtroom, as it was a pretty full courtroom for the Friday morning hearing. Once again, many motions by the defense were granted, but their motion to dismiss the DA, Keith Higgins, was denied, and their motion for a bond for their client, Larry Jenkins, was also denied. Once again, jury selection is scheduled for Monday, April 7th. Larry Jenkins, who is now 15 years old, he's been in jail since 1995 after his first conviction, and was convicted again for the same crimes back in 1995. But again, it's been granted a third trial by the Georgia Supreme Court. WIFO film will continue to follow the story as it develops. We'll be back with more news after this word from our sponsor or the commercial messages, so please stay tuned.
Sometimes things happen in life that can knock you
Legislative session winding down in Atlanta, but on Friday, reforming Georgia's civil litigation laws took another legislative step towards reality when the Georgia Senate approved Governor Kemp's supported measure that will make it harder to sue businesses for damages. State House approved Senate Bill 68 on Thursday by a 91 to 82 vote. On Friday, the Senate vote was 34-21. Measure now heads to the governor's desk for his signature and becoming law in the state of Georgia. The bill raises the threshold for holding businesses accountable for incidents on their property. Under the proposed legislation, businesses would have to have prior knowledge of a safety issue or wrongdoing employee in order to be sued. The bill will overhaul Georgia's civil litigation system and make it harder to sue businesses for things that happen on their property, a concept known as premises liability. The version of the bill passed by lawmakers this week did include a provision that would offer survivors of sex trafficking more leniency when suing places that may have had a role in their trafficking, like hotels. Georgia House Speaker John Burns says the bill is designed to offer common-sense solutions to protect the rights of Georgians who have been harmed while ensuring the scales of justice in our courtrooms are fair and balanced. Small business owners in the state say they are frustrated with constantly having to pay huge settlements over lawsuits that they feel are frivolous. Governor Kemp has gone so far to term it lawsuit abuse, and many in the legislature agreed, including 3 House Democrats who voted in favor of the legislation. Once again, the tort reform will soon become law once the governor signs the bill. Legislative session ends in Atlanta on April the 4th, and a traditional event held by Wayne County Chamber of Commerce is their post-legislative luncheon that is set for April 22nd at Coastal Pines Technical College from 11 to 1. Tickets are on sale now at the Chamber of Commerce office. They're $30 for members and $40 for non-members, but everyone is invited to come and hear from State Representative Stephen Meeks and Buddy DeLoach and State Senator Blake Tillery, as they will be the guest speakers and recap the legislative session, discuss the highs and lows, and talk about what bills did not pass and were left on the table for the next legislative session. Once again, that post-legislative luncheon set for April 22nd at Coastal Pines Technical College. Once again, if you need tickets or information, call the Chamber at 912-427-2028. We'll be back with the final news note after this word from our sponsor of the commercial messages, so please stay tuned. Final note in the news, the Wayne County Board of Education is set for their monthly board meeting tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the Tech Center. On the agenda, the recognitions Good as Gold, and it'll be from Wayne County High School this month. Also, the principal report from Wayne County High School, and they recognize the Young Georgia Authors winner. Public participation on the agenda, items of business, capital outlay projects. Ms. Williams will update the board on the current capital outlay projects. The CCRPI College and Career Ready Performance additional data will be discussed. Also, several governor's team professional development, governor's team norms and protocols meeting date, summer retreat meeting date, financial report, executive session, all that set for tomorrow at 6 p.m. at the Tech Center. That's going to do it for latest in local news. Sports comes your way in a few minutes. Bob Morgan, have a great day.